Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's meeting. Thanks everybody for coming. We're doing a town hall tonight. The main item is the Cavendish extension, and I can promise you, Councillor Burku is going to have some very interesting facts to share with you, as will our other panelists. I just want to introduce the first item. I'm going to be calling our Public Works Director up because I know, even though it's warm out and people are taking the sun, we do remember what it was like when we had the massive snowstorm last winter and we got so many phone calls that people couldn't get down their streets. So we've made some adjustments for this winter, and sadly enough, snow will be here soon enough. So we'll get a little bit of an update from Ms. Newman in a minute. I'm just going to introduce who is here. Councillor Dita Burku, of course, who's co-chairing the event with me, and she's the councillor for District 3. Mayor Mitchell Brownstein to my left, former Mayor Robert Libman, Rick Lechner, proud to have Rick for the last 4 years as a resident of Côte Saint-Luc. Bernard Lang should only know up there that you're living in Côte Saint-Luc now.
He's turning over.
He's turning over, exactly. And Jacques Cohen, no relation, but a good friend, borough councillor in Saint-Laurent, who are very much in favor of the Cavendish extension and part of Ensemble Montréal, which we're not taking sides, obviously, but it's more likely if Ensemble Montréal gets elected, we might see Cavendish extended in our lifetime. So I'm going to start off by asking Ms. Beatrice Newman, our Director of Public Works, to come to the podium. Yeah. Oh, and I apologize. We have with us Councillor Randy Schuster, who is the councillor for District 8, and her district is right at where the extension could possibly take place. Her and I share custody of that part of the street. Sorry. Councillor Lior Azarad, Councillor Oren Sabag, and Councillor Stephen Early, and I don't believe any other members of council are here, so I believe we've covered the ground. So thank you, Dita. Ms. Newman, I'm going to ask you first. So thanks for coming. Now, there may be some people here who have questions for Ms. Newman. This is a real privilege for you because when she finishes her presentation, if you have a particular question about public works, you can go see her outside the room. I want to thank Beatrice Newman and her Public Works Department for just the outstanding job they do every day of the week. And, really, there's so much in our community that we rely upon public works. A big majority of the calls we get as councillors relate to issues in her department, and they have a great mechanism of customer service. And so, Ms. Newman, my first question to you is, what can you tell us? What is going to happen with snow removal this year? What's the plan? Are there any changes?
Can I just first say, it's the first time I ever met you, but I listened to you forever on CJD.
Okay. Yes.
So I just wanted to say it's a real honor. I told my husband.
Very kind. Thank you.
So
Just gonna move it.
We are in the presence of excellence and a legend, Rick Lechner, just so you know that, ladies and gentlemen. We are.
That's cool. Very cool.
Don't make me blush.
How's that?
That's good.
Is that better?
Yep. So welcome and good evening. Thank you for coming out. My name is Bibi Newman, and I've worked for the City of Côte Saint-Luc for almost 19 years, and I've been a Public Works Director for over 10. It's been my utmost pleasure to work for the City of Côte Saint-Luc, very supportive group and wonderful councillors and mayors that I've had the privilege to work for. So that's been great, and thank you very much, everybody. Yes, so Mike asked me to come in to either answer some questions you have about snow removal and maybe a little bit about waste. If you turn around to the back, you'll see our new little kitchen catcher. He's very cute. He's brown. It has a brown lid, just like your brown bin. It has a Côte Saint-Luc label, and inside is a filter with a little flower emblem. So we're going to be giving those out for free. We have 6 here for free for anybody who wants to take one home and try it out. But eventually everyone will get one, particularly those in the meadows, because we've been struggling to try to come into your condominium complex for many, many years. And I've had many requests, including that from Melissa Margulies, to start composting in your area. So we will be coming to you this year with our new contractor and our new bins, just to give you a heads up. Other than that, I mean, going on to snow removal, we had a very crazy year last year, as you know. Within 10 days, we received over 72 centimeters of snow in Côte Saint-Luc. Unfortunately, during that period, our contractor was not able to fulfill his commitment, and Côte Saint-Luc blue collars had to subsidize the work that needed to be done. And they did an amazing job, but they got very little sleep. And we also have a law in Quebec where they're not allowed to work over a certain amount of hours. So Public Works had to juggle our staff between the hours that they were eligible to work. It was difficult. And I was nervous for all of you because I live here too. I've been a resident here my whole life except for 10 years. And it's very important for me to make sure that the community is taken care of. So I have, again, the privilege of working for Public Works, where I have a hand in trying to make your lifestyle a lot better every year. So when the snow event happened last year, we were very, very concerned about our community. Luckily, we have a very good fleet, one of the newest fleets on the island of Montreal. And we have a great staff who are dedicated and work against the snow like a war. They love it. So we were able to do what we needed to do, but I could not have this company come back this year and take a chance because, you know, if we had 72 centimeters in less than 10 days last year, who knows what we can have this year? We just don't know with climate change and or whatever you want to call it. So we had to let them go. And we did, and we went out to tender, and we got our results on Friday morning, this past Friday morning, and we have 2 new suppliers. We have CMS. I don't know if you'll actually see their logos on the trucks, but we do have 2 new contractors. One is CMS and one is IP Roy. And both of them have worked for us in the past with great success. The reason why we had the other contractor in the past was because they bid low, and we're obligated to take the lowest bidder when we go out to public tender. So luckily, we were able to let go of that supplier, and we now have 2 wonderful suppliers, wonderful contractors who should be able to work with us very well. On top of that, the contractor in the past historically would take half the city, and the Public Works blue collars would do the other half of the city. So it was 50%, 50%. What we've done with this new tender, just for this 1 year as a pilot project, is Public Works in-house has taken in an extra 25%. So there's only 1/4 of the city left for these 2 suppliers to work at. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be okay. It's going to be a little bit of extra pressure for us because we want to make sure that the job gets done well on our side. But with only 25% left for the 2 contractors, they should be able to do a good job. What are they doing? CMS will be doing the mains, which means that they will be clearing the main streets, pushing snow and salting. And the other company, IP Roy, or is it JP Roy? JP Roy is going to be doing dead ends and parking lots. The rest of the city will be done by us. So I'm looking forward to a very intense winter, but we will be prepared. And we're not purchasing the extra equipment that we need. We're going to be renting it for this year to keep the costs low. And after this year and perhaps next year, we'll be able to make an intelligent decision on whether or not we are going to keep it in-house, whether it's fiscally responsible for us to keep it in-house, or whether we should go back to the old way.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Newman. Does anyone have any questions? We'll entertain a couple of questions. Okay, go ahead. Stand up. Stand up and speak loudly, please.
Did the city claw back money given, or did they just not pay the invoice for fire?
Yeah, so I can't go into it because I don't know exactly the amounts, but yes, we had a holdback for a certain amount. And for what we owed them, it was the finance department worked it out so that we didn't pay for services not rendered. Yeah.
Say the CMS logo won't go. So when I hear this, I thought right away, why don't I go buy a couple trucks, hire a few, with my language, Mexicans or whatnot, put in a call to put in a tender and get the contract? Like, is that what's going on here?
No, no,
Or
not at
why
all.
aren't they on the trust?
Oh, I didn't mean it that they won't be on. I said, if you don't see it on, I don't know that they will or won't. They probably will because they'll want to advertise. But when we go out to tender, there is a very, very strict and stringent rule set up that is for all the contenders. They have to give their past references. They have to tell us where they've worked before. We do all the background references. Oh no, they're a very old company and yeah, for sure. We don't want trouble. So, which is why as soon as we saw it with the other one, we had to get rid of him because it wasn't working for us. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're satisfied. I'm glad you're satisfied.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Does anyone else have, we'll entertain a few questions on Public Works and the rest, if people will go outside. Mark, if you have a question about the snow dump, we'll let you talk to Ms. Newman in the hallway. Because there's not going to be a question that's going to, an answer that's going to satisfy you tonight. Go ahead, sir.
Leslie Sattenstein.
Leslie, you have a question? Go ahead, speak loudly.
I live in other jurisdictions, and that is one of the rules that we follow. The odd year, the outside got clean, and the even year, the even side got clean. For the storms.
Oh, you're suggesting we rotate 1 year the left side and one. I'll take that into consideration. We'll speak about it. One of our head snow manager of operations is right behind you, so he's listening. We're taking notes while you speak. I brought my team with me, so we're taking notes.
For the purpose of the recording at home, can you repeat the questions?
Oh, of course. The question was, again, you want me to? The question was, can we rotate one side of the street every year? So if Smart is getting the west side done first, can Smart get the left? Just the west side? Oh, well, that's your opinion. Yeah, I know. Well, you see, what we're trying to do is we're trying to service as many people as we can. We have a lot of people who have accessibility issues. So if we have the accessibility transport coming up to the home and we don't clear that area, how is he going to get in with his walker and stuff?
Okay, so it's not going to be a back and forth, but thank you for your comments. No, we appreciate it.
Taking note.
We appreciate it. We're taking note of it. Does anybody have a question? I know Mark has a question about, you have the whole team here tonight, Mark, so they'll talk to you in the hallway about the snow dump. But does anyone have a question about Public Works that is kind of, that hasn't been answered before, that hasn't been brought up? Otherwise, Ms. Newman and her team are here. I'd ask them if they'd be kind enough to go in the hallway, and if someone wants to ask them any questions. Is there anything else, by the way, that you can update us on how I know it's right now, any work that's going to be done in the parks over the next few months before we shut them down?
Well, we have a special parks budget, $500,000 every year, where we try to make small improvements throughout the city instead of one huge park like we've done at Kerwin and Alan J. Levine. We put in millions of dollars because that was our special project, but the city also takes care of the small parks around the city during the year. So this year we are working with Parc Fillon. When I mention the parks, that means that we're putting in new equipment, water features like drinking fountains, some splash pads, and new play equipment, park chips instead of sand. So that would be Fillon Park. It would be Roback Park, Brownstein, Fletcher, McDowell, and something in Trudeau also we're doing. Rembrandt, okay, and Rabin. It's like Rabin Park. Mostly every park is getting, and Emerald, which is now Alexander, I forget the last name.
Alex Look Place.
No, Alexander Emerald, at Emerald Park on Emerald Road. We're doing something there. Alex Look Place. Yes, we just created a new park, a little place for the Bibas family with red benches and picnic tables and a mobile library. We're very, very proud of it. So yeah, so that's what we're doing in mostly all the parks. Every park is getting touched a little bit at least to show that we're paying attention and listening to our residents about their neighborhood parks. Yes, Alan.
Former Councillor Levine.
So the question was, am I involved at all with the tennis court issue? Yeah. Asbestos in the clay courts, the question about it? No, I'm not. That's not part of our mandate. Yeah, so I can't answer to that.
I also want to thank Ms. Newman, since this is a district town hall meeting as well, to thank her because Rembrandt Park will be getting a lot of love in the next couple of years. We've had a meeting about it. A lot of good stuff is going to be happening. We're going to take one last question. Go ahead, and then go ahead.
In Japan, they use a private snow track, contractors to use their flowers. Where does the snow go? On the city street. Who takes it away? The city. They made all the contractors, you must know, but that we're in the West Island. They made them all get
Snowblowers.
blow it on the lawn of the home rule plan. I imagine that's gonna save a ton of money for the city.
Ms. Newman, have you got a comment on that?
So the question or comment was, Darrell, that other cities provide, not provide, they mandate the private contractors to have snow blowers to clear their residents or their clients' snow. And I think it's a fabulous idea. So yes, I personally am in the works. I have not brought it to council yet, but it's absolutely.
Do that, we do.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah, we do that. Really not in the summer.
And grassy. And you don't need a million dump trucks.
Okay.
Driving up and down the street.
All right. Points taken, sir. Thank you. We'll have to move on. Thank you.
I'm definitely,
No, it's okay.
it's okay.
We appreciate
I
feedback.
like your comment. Thank you. We've
Yeah.
taken note of it,
So,
definitely.
Bibi is here with, I see Isabella and Terry and Anthony, I believe, is here.
Yeah.
And I want to personally thank them for all the work they do and their colleagues. I want to tell you, as a counselor, it's a privilege to work with people like this who really, respond to our calls, and because we're the ones as counselors who get the feedback by citizens, and then we need to go to them and advocate to get the job done, and they really are always there for us. So thank you very much. And if anyone has any further questions for Beatrice and her team, they'll be at the back of the room. You can go speak to them. I know there were some other people who told me they were coming and they had particular questions for Public Works. I don't see them in the audience, but we'll talk tomorrow, Ms. Newman. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. All right. We'll now move on to the main issue of the day, Cavendish extension. And, I've been a city councillor now for 20 years. And prior to that, I covered city council for the Suburban, for the Monitor, for the Weekly Herald. And I remember coming to meeting after meeting, and Bernard Lang would shout out, "We don't need it, we don't want it, we can't afford it." And I remember Rick Lechner was a councillor in Dollar des Ormeaux, and they would have a lot of debates in the media over that. And let's face it, Mayor Lang never wanted Cavendish to be extended, but it's a different era right now. We have the right people around the table here to talk about it. So I'm going to turn it over for some opening remarks from Dita Bricu. We will then hear from Mayor Brownstein, former Mayor Libman, and Rick Lechner. Dita then will have some, saving the best, some really great items you'll want to hear. And we'll see what else our panelists have to say. Mr. Jacques Cohen from Saint Laurent, we'll ask him to say a few words, and then we'll let you ask questions. People asked me today, why are we having this meeting? And Sharon Friedman made a note saying, Côte Saint-Luc hasn't done enough. Well, believe me, if we could extend Cavendish, Mitchell Brownstein, myself, and Dita Burku, and all the councillors here would take the shovels and start doing it ourselves. But we don't have that power. We need to get the city of Montreal, and we know how responsive they are. So we have a member of Ensemble Montreal here. We know that they're on board, and in Projet Montreal, we've got to get them to straighten their priorities out for the next election. So, Councillor Burku, go.
Is that better now? Going low.
Okay, so, hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I have a PowerPoint, so I'm going to be very brief now. I'm going to pass the baton to Mayor Brownstein, and then it's going to be former Mayor Robert Libman, and then Rick Lechner, and then I'm going to give my PowerPoint. So I think that we should, get the show on the road. Thank you.
Wow, that's the shortest Councilor Burko has ever been. All right, thank you. All right, welcome everybody. It's a privilege to be here with former Mayor Robert Libman. This is, I remember us back in 1998. I was a young councillor. We were talking about the Cavendish extension in a positive way. 2000 was when we really started thinking we were going to get it moving. It's great having you here today and being here with all my councillors and this great panel. And thank you for all being here to hear about the Cavendish extension. It's been around, this discussion's been around for a long time. Believe it or not, I was born in 1961 and we have articles from 1958 where they were talking about the Cavendish extension. So it's been a yes and then a no, and then a yes again, and then a no. And we're in the no period now. So we're going to go through why that is. For me, I'm just going to show a short clip of I was elected in 2016, and in 2017, Daryl, are you ready to show what happened? This is what happened when I was mayor.
The Quebec government has officially given the Hippodrome to the City of Montreal. Denis Coderre and mayors from the area surrounding it were all smiles, as the land transfer also helps the city move ahead with the long-awaited Cavendish extension.
Cavendish will happen.
They put in a reserve on certain land needed for the extension. There have been negotiations with CP and CN for the purchase of the land, and $222,000 has been put aside for a feasibility study on whether it should be an underpass or overpass. So that was it, right? So it seemed like it was going to happen. And then it was going to the BAP for the studies. And then, of course, another administration came in, which was Valerie Plante, and she was just in favor of bicycle paths. And that's really about it. Bicycle paths, and that's it. So it didn't move forward from there because of that administration. We hope there will be a new administration that goes back to the Denis Coderre philosophy and that something happens. What that is, maybe it'll be a little different. What are our needs today? Of course, we want a tramway, which was always supposed to be on the Cavendish extension back in 2017. We want bicycle paths. We're not against them. And we want some cars, particularly to leave this city and give us another way out. But I don't know what the population is feeling about how much they want in terms of cars coming in and out. And it would be interesting to hear today that we're having this meeting, Mike, to hear from the public, and you represent them and anybody that's online, as to what people feel would be the appropriate Cavendish extension of today. But I'm not going to talk more because there's so many people that have to give their opinion. I just wanted to let you know what happened in 2017 when I was mayor, and we all know what happened since. So I'll pass it on to the next speaker.
Okay, so Robert Libman, former mayor, former member of the National Assembly, and a must-read in the Gazette every Saturday now, and an architect by profession. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, my day job is as an architect, as a matter of fact. First of all, thank you for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure to be here. It's hard to believe it's almost 30 years since I was first elected mayor of Côte Saint-Luc, and believe it or not, 20 years since I sat in the chair right over here next to me. So it's nice to be inching my way back closer. I was asked to give a bit of a historical retrospective of how the Cavendish file evolved over the past several decades. It's taken, of course, many, many twists and turns. Mike alluded to the fact that for many, many years, my predecessor, Bernard Lang, had been opposed to the Cavendish extension, vigorously opposed to the Cavendish extension. I think he even said at one point over his dead body, would he ever allow the Cavendish extension to go forward? And he had some concerns, as do many Côte Saint-Luc residents, because I don't think support for the Cavendish extension is unanimous in Côte Saint-Luc. There are many people that live along Cavendish that are concerned, especially in this day and age right now where the community seems somewhat vulnerable because of what's going on internationally. So there are many people that reserve judgment as to whether or not Cavendish would benefit Côte Saint-Luc. But it's certainly, I think the consensus would be among most Côte Saint-Luc residents that we need another outlet from the municipality. We're surrounded on three sides by rail yards, and circulation just to get to Décarie, to get to the closest highway, is very difficult. We all deal with that on a daily basis. So when I became mayor in the late 90s, it was at a time when the city of Montreal, ironically enough, was pushing very hard. Pierre Bourque was very much in favor of the Cavendish extension, and he was mounting a campaign to push it forward. So we were, our council, and Dita Burke, who was on council time, Mitch Brownstein was on council time, Alan Levine, who's in the audience tonight, was on council. So we sat down and we took a look at how can we somehow channel the need of residents in the municipality to have that additional outlet to ease the transition or the circulation or the congestion that we deal with on a regular basis, yet at the same time protect that sense of community, the community tissue that we have that's very valuable and important to all of us, a sense of security, a sense of privacy in Côte Saint-Luc, that it doesn't become a highway, a major highway that people going north-south or south-north would just use as a shortcut to cut through our community. So we sat down, as you recall, Dita Burke, I'm sure you remember very well, we all sat down with sketches and we met in several meetings, and we came up with somewhat of a concept that we thought could be a win-win scenario. Now, I took that at the time to Guy Chevrette. Guy Chevrette was a PQ M&A when I was in the National. The picture. Oh, that was a picture of us perhaps going over a bit of a design. But I'm going to ask Daryl. I'm going to ask Daryl in a second to go to, I think, slide number 2 that I gave you. So when I was in the National Assembly in opposition, the opposition leader for the PQ was Guy Chevrette. He was a transport critic, and we actually, ironically enough, worked closely together in the National Assembly. And years later, when I became mayor of Côte Saint-Luc, he happened to be, and when the PQ was elected in 1995. To govern, he became the transport minister. So we had a meeting, myself, Benoit Champagne, who was the head of engineering in Côte Saint-Luc, he, myself, went to meet Guy Chevrette with our proposal. We sat down with him, we hammered it out. We told him we can perhaps acknowledge the willingness of the city of Montreal and Mayor Pierre Bourque at the time to carve a Cavendish extension, but it has to be within certain parameters that we felt wouldn't compromise the sense of community in Côte Saint-Luc. We came up with somewhat of a design. If you put that on the screen now, and I'll try to explain it if it looks a bit complicated. If you can you rise it up a little bit? Okay, anyways, if you look at the top, yeah, that's fine. So you've got the Cavendish portion in Saint Laurent up on top. You see that? It would come down Cavendish, and then instead of just being a straight line north-south cutting right through Cavendish, it would take a little bit of a dip to the east towards Décarie, and then there'd be a roundabout and connect with Royal Mount. And then also then you would connect south, you go down south, there'd be another roundabout where Jean Talon meets up with it. And then it would come back towards the other way first. Then you come back towards Cavendish and Côte Saint-Luc towards the Cavendish Mall. So Cavendish and Cavendish is extended, it's basically connected, but it veers a little bit to the east and it hooks up with Royal Mount, Paris, Ferrier, and Jean Talon, so that people that might be going north-south, instead of perhaps using Côte Saint-Luc as a shortcut to bypass the Décarie Circle, those who don't live in Côte Saint-Luc or NDG would probably take it back via Royal Mount or Paris, Ferrier, or Jean Talon back to Décarie. So at the same time, we'd be decongestioning the Décarie Circle, taking a lot of people off that, adding an extra north-south corridor for residents of Côte Saint-Luc and Hampstead and NDG to be able to go north-south much more conveniently without it becoming a shortcut into our community. So that was something we proposed to the Minister of Transport at the time, and he was very favorable to it. Pierre Bourque didn't seem close to the idea. He wanted a bit of a straight line, but the minister at the time came out publicly to say that he would support Côte Saint-Luc's proposal. We sent out this cute little flyer with the designs. We sent it out to all residents of Côte Saint-Luc, and we thought that we were onto something that perhaps would square the circle or be a win-win for everyone. And then as circumstances seem to have evolved, a year and a half later, with the municipal mergers, I happened to be on the executive committee of the City of Montreal with Gerald Tremblay, responsible for urban planning. So here we were in a position where we had a seat at the table in Montreal where we can push that agenda, and it seemed to be a winning scenario for everyone. And a few years later, we held this press conference, myself with Alan D'Souza and Saint Laurent, who was responsible for sustainable development at the time in the Tremblay administration, Claude Dauphin, who was responsible for transport in the Tremblay administration. Dita was there as well. She was the House leader in the Tremblay administration, and we announced a $5 million set up a grant to create this project bureau for the Cavendish extension. It was a big announcement at the time. It was set up to hold a budget to do studies, hold public consultations, draw plans and specifications so that the Cavendish extension would see the light of day by, I think, 2009, 2010 was the absolute target date. And everything seemed to be on course. Most of the opposition seemed to be in favor, and we thought that we had a winning formula. At the time, council all signed on to the plan, and things seemed to be ready to go. Here we are 20 years later, and this thing still never happened. Whether merger, demerger had anything to do with it, or whether it became less of a priority for the administration. There was also a lot of pushback from CN and CP because there was some engineering gymnastics involved in creating an extension that goes underneath rail lines. So there were all these complications involved, but there wasn't, from that point forward, the political will to really make that thing happen. And I still to this day can't understand why it hasn't happened. It certainly doesn't make sense from a planning point of view. It doesn't make sense from an environmental point of view, even the fact that because of the Cavendish blockage, people are using side streets to get in and out of Côte Saint-Luc and Hampstead, clogging streets. The Carey Circle is constantly congested because of it, with cars idling and polluting our environment. And you would think that this would be a priority of any administration, whether they're to the left, whether to the right, whether they're pro-environment, whether they're pro-car, anti-car. It certainly is something that would have made a lot of sense at the time. Not only is it fundamentally important from a transport point of view, but from an economic development point of view. Anyone who complains about the potential cost of the engineering to ram through the Cavendish extension should take into account the economic development potential by opening up or letting the center of the city breathe. If you look at that area where the CN and CP rail yards are, where the Cavendish extension has to pass through, you're talking about 65 million square feet of land, developable land, right at the geographic epicenter of the island of Montreal. The fact that it's all clogged with rail yards, not only are these nuisances for Côte Saint-Luc or for anyone as far as transport is concerned, but it really robs the city from a economic development potential that it can be harnessed, which could pay 10 times over the costs of any Cavendish extension. And then just to conclude along those lines, ironically enough, a few years later, I work at a company called Olenbeck as an architect. That's my day job, technically. And it just so happens there's a lot of land that Olenbeck owns where the corridor for the Cavendish extension would pass right through. So here I was in 2019, 2020, negotiating with the city of Montreal. Instead of expropriating the land to create the Cavendish extension, a deal was about to be struck. And then on March 9th, we couldn't believe it. I got this email from the city of Montreal suddenly saying that the city had decided not to proceed with the project after une réflexion en profondeur de la part de l'administration. And when I spoke to the person at the other side of the negotiating table, he said the city administration of Valérie Plante has decided that by opening up the Cavendish extension, by opening up Cavendish, it would relieve traffic, it would create a more fluid situation, which would encourage more of the use of cars, and therefore it would work against their overall objective of encouraging people to take public transit. Almost saying in a way that their philosophy is saturate the streets, make the streets unbearable to drive, and therefore if it's unbearable, people are just all going to transfer to public transit, which doesn't make any sense. Anyone that takes their kids to school in the morning or has to do groceries or anything is not going to take a bicycle to bring their kids to school or camp in the morning. So that gives you an idea of the dreamland philosophy that this current administration is dealing with on a regular basis. And that right now is the biggest impediment to Cavendish ever being extended. There's an election in November. The only way for the Cavendish extension to ever see the light of day is if this administration, present company from Ensemble Montreal, I'm saying it out of conviction that I'm hoping that your administration is very favorable. I know Alan D'Souza is very favorable to Cavendish extension, but with this administration, if they're reelected, Luc Rabouin becomes mayor of Montreal, again, we're going to be seeing this project sit on the shelves for the years to come. And it's something that Montreal desperately needs from an economic point of view, from a transport point of view, from an urban planning point of view. This administration, we've never in the city of Montreal had an administration that has been so out of touch when it comes to issues of transport, urban planning, the ways to combat urban sprawl, even coordinating traffic work and traffic congestion work. Anywhere you go these days, you grind your teeth if you're sitting behind the wheel, knowing how frustrating it is to get around in this city. So I think that's what we need. And our city administration has to do whatever they can to encourage this to go through. And we can only hope that the Plante administration is the former administration come November, because that's what we need if we want to see the light of day on the Cavendish extension finally materialize after 50, 60 years of talking about it. Thank you.
Well said, Robert. Before I ask Rick to take the microphone, I think it's a big segue. Jacques Cohen can maybe just confirm for the audience that Ensemble Montréal is in favor of seeing Cavendish extended. Jacques?
Oh, there. Okay. Sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I was saying, I think you all know that in Saint Laurent, we're definitely for the extension, and our mayor, Alan D'Souza, with Dida and the rest of the team here, are big proponents to extend. I can tell you, I came from Saint Laurent today, and with Waze, and it took me 50 minutes to get here, which makes no sense. Something has to be done, and look, it's also a big year. It's a big year coming up in November for the elections. I know you guys don't really get to vote for Mayor of Montreal, but you've got to get your friends and your families who are part of Montreal to come out and vote.
I just want to thank Mayor Alan D'Souza and Mayor Peter Malouf from TM Marcus. We've been a trio. We've been working really hard, the three cities, and we keep on pushing for it. And hopefully, finally, I hope that with Alan in a better position, let's hope that he's right there with the city and with the party in power, and we can move this forward. But a big thank you to Alan and to Peter Malouf.
I saw Mayor Malouf this morning at Royal Mount, my favorite haunt. And we were at an event, and he just said he's watching the meeting on Zoom, but he wanted to make it clear that he's, of course, very much in favor of and supports this initiative. And you mentioned about people in the audience, but this is being live streamed, and tomorrow it'll be, Daryl will be on YouTube tomorrow, I presume. So this will be widely seen, I hope. So I'll turn it over to Rick Leck.
Can I ask you to put on the screen an image for Rick to comment on also? Image number 4, Daryl, which shows the rail yards at the center of the city, which you've probably seen from above for so many years, which gives an idea of how these road networks that are blocked up. Okay, if you could zoom out a little bit, you see how the 13, how Côte Saint-Luc, how the Trans-Canada have to sort of elbow around all those rail yards right in the heart of the city, instead of an orthogonal grid that would make traffic patterns much more logical. we're dealing with this bizarre situation where in 2025, 65 million square feet in the actual heart of the city is being consumed with rail yards that could easily move off island or should move off island. And that's complicating matters completely. Even the Cavendish extension going under those yards is what is adding to the constant concerns about the cost of such a thing.
Which has been another thing we've always been
Yeah.
pushing for, because CP Rail they own land. They own enough land to move all these rail yards off to the other land that they own, which is off island. But they refuse to do it.
You can scroll down too, you can see scroll down, Daryl. Yeah, keep going down a bit. Yeah, you can see where it's all located, right there in the middle of the city. It's massive.
Rick Lecter, go ahead.
So since I have traffic in my blood, on a very local note, I have it on very good authority, the mayor, that Fleet will reopen on Wednesday.
Sometime on Wednesday. They promised by 4 o'clock. They promised by 4 o'clock, maybe earlier.
We'll take Thursday.
Rick, did you see that this morning from the CJD
No, I
helicopter?
did not. No.
But it's going to be smooth with
I always
nice,
save the best for
nice
last.
lines and smooth.
So thank you for the invitation. It's 8 o'clock and I'm going to make a few comments. Dita has some very important things to say, and then we want to open it up to some questions. But yes, Houston, we have a problem. It's amazing that Cavendish, even the name still exists. It's had more than 9 lives. Okay. I've been involved in this one way or another, I hate to tell you, for almost 6 decades. And ça bouge pas. I often, in dealing with Transport Quebec, used to say, you guys find more ways of saying no instead of using that energy to find a solution. There has been many solutions recommended here over the years. And the city has turned and twisted and reneged going back to 2017 when a deal was made for the Quebec government to give them money. But Valerie Plante has had, shall we say, a change of heart. But her credibility cannot be questioned because she stands forthright on her position regarding Cavendish. Darrell?
We're doing Cavendish for sure. We're doing Cavendish for sure. We're doing Cavendish for sure.
But you can't take that to the bank. So that's an interview that Aaron Rand did with the mayor about a year ago. And anytime Aaron and I talk about Cavendish on the air, he politely uses that. And I asked him to send me that today because this is the mayor, soon to be the former mayor. But as has been pointed out, you know, if there isn't a lot of noise made before this next election, it's likely the agenda will not change because Monsieur Laborin could become the mayor of Montreal unless Ensemble Montréal takes a very strong position very soon. The election's in 2 months and 1 week. But you need to tell your friends to get out and make some noise. You need to, because you guys don't vote for the city of Montreal. It's extremely important that we ensure that the message gets out because the media, some media pick it up, other media don't. The issues have been enumerated here. The solutions have been expressed and then reneged. Dita will have some very interesting news to share with you very shortly, which is, well, I'll comment after, but in a word, ludicrous. And just is taking this whole thing backwards instead of forwards. We all are hostages in trying to leave this area every morning and get back in the afternoon. Crossing the Carry, as we call it, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And nothing has been done. There are indeed short-term solutions. The biggest problem, it's not just the extension of Cavendish, which is required. It's the very poor geometry at the intersection of Jean Talon and the Carry. Because you have vehicles getting off the expressway, trying to cross 4 lanes to turn right onto Jean Talon, others trying to get on at Paris. It's a crisscross of traffic that moves very slowly. The bad news is, and I spoke to someone at Transport Quebec very recently who's in charge of construction in the Montreal area. For the next while, there will be no new projects. It's only maintenance, l'entretien. There's no money in the budget for anything, even though most of the fix would have to be within the city of Montreal. Things can be done in the interim, such as synchronizing traffic lights. And I've talked about this before, removing parking on Vezina and on Plamondon during the rush hour, but these things don't happen. So unless we all try to get together and make a lot of noise, and the other thing that must be done is that no new money should be allocated to the city of Montreal for Hippodrome. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, was here last week and he dedicated, how much, 80? This is insane that a penny should be allocated by any level of government to the city of Montreal until there is a firm commitment signed into law to make this thing happen. You know, I refer to the report that was done, commissioned by Valerie Plante and the then Junior Transport Minister Chantal Lerouleau, le rapport du groupe de travail Namur de la Savane, which calls explicitly, this is under Valerie Plante's signature, which calls explicitly for le prolongement du Cavendish. What happened to it? Tableté. Changed mind, changed the mind. So we sit here tonight and discuss this, and we can discuss this forever. I'm going to turn it over to Dita because I want you to hear what the latest chapter in the Cavendish saga is.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Rick. So I'm really happy that I'm able to speak after Rick and Robert because I think Robert really gave you a portrait of what happened, you know, in the early 2000s. And I was there. I mean, we were pushing, and by 2004, before we remerged, we had a bureau de projet, and we had a $5 million bureau de projet, and we had a timetable. So I'm just going to take you through that very quickly. But the thing is this, okay, bottom line, and I want you to feel like this is worthwhile, right? You're going, so what are we going to do, right? I get that feeling. The issues are, there are technical issues. There always will be, there always have been technical issues. But the solution is political because there are solutions for the technical issues, and the solutions go back to this, exactly this. I'm going to show you exactly this, exactly what we did in 2000 is exactly what needs to be done today. So I'm just going to go through my PowerPoint quickly. I'm going to fly through the first 10 slides because the really good stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is towards the end. So this was the project as it was presented in 2022. And what do? I just go to the next slide. Okay. So hang on a second. No, we didn't start at the beginning. Okay, this is the beginning. So this is a presentation August 25th. So I'm just going to do a little bit of the context. So you all know that the Cavendish is connected to the Namur de la Savane. Namur de la Savane is Saint-Laurent, Côte Saint-Luc, Côte-Neige-NDG, and TMR. You understand that context? And the reason we have to connect it is because everything comes now through the perspective of the hippodrome. So you see Cavendish running down all the way here. If you can understand, from the top of the screen all the way to the bottom, and then it goes further, has to go through the oh, who has a highlight? Am I highlighting? Oh, you are. Okay. Daryl is. Okay. So we continue. This is the proposal as it was proposed in 2022. I want you to take a mental picture of this, register it in your memory. Okay. Understand that this is basically what we presented in 2000. Exactly. You see the blue line that's coming down through Saint Laurent. Then you see that red arrow, that's Royal Mount. Then you see the blue line going down towards Cavendish and Côte Saint-Luc. And then you see this green line connecting to the Hippodrome. Does everybody see that? That's the wraparound. Okay, that's exactly what we presented in 2000. No different, not one iota of difference. This is now 2022. We worked from 2000 to 2022. What happened in those 20 years? 22 years? Once we demerged, basically the city of Montreal pulled the plug on Cavendish. In 2007, it was André Lavallée. He was Louis Arel's right-hand man. He didn't know anything west of Park Avenue, didn't recognize the other half of the island, and he just pulled the plug. And when Anthony was mayor and we were writing letters and going to the Transport Commission and doing everything else, they said, we, sure, forget it. Okay, wasn't part of the transport plan. That was 2007. Then 2012, finally, the government decided to give the Hippodrome over to the city of Montreal, and it took them 5 years to negotiate the deal. It went from 2012 to 2017. And in 2017, finally, Coderre signed the deal. And the deal was very clear, as Mayor Brownstein just said a few moments ago. We're giving you the Hippodrome on one condition. You must open Cavendish une route, not a tramway, not a bridge, une route that has to be built. Okay, so we move on. Understand? So now all this, I don't have to teach you how many cars are there, 360,000 cars every single day. The congestion is unbearable. This is all you're very familiar with. And the construction that's going on there now with the tens and thousands of homes that are being built in the Triangle and the Westbury and the Carey Square and Namur Hippodrome, 20,000 units, and Royal Mount eventually wants to go with residential. This is just one timeline. I could put wallpaper through this entire room with the timelines that have been deposited on this project. This is just one timeline that started in June 2006 and was supposed to end by 2012. Did it happen? No. Okay, but this was deposited at the BAP, at the Bureau d'Audience Publique sur l'Environnement in 2005, right after Robert, right after we had created the Bureau de Projet. We gave the mandate to this company. I think it's Roche Genevar. They made a timeline, they made a presentation, everything was hunky-dory. Then they pulled the plug, as usual. Okay, so this is the timeline. Hang on a second, I'm just going to move. This is the timeline, 2006, 12, 17, 19, 20, 22 to 2024. I don't need to belabor this, but you get the idea. And there is Robert in 2000. We were all there. There's Alan, Ruth, Harold. Wow. Isidore, Mitchell, and me. Wow. It's a lot of nostalgia there. So now we're back to 2022. Mitch and Alan D'Souza and Peter Maloof. It wasn't Peter Maloof. It was who? Philip Roy. We were pushing. Finally, they said, we're going to the BAP. February 2022, they went to the BAP. They went to the Bureau d'Audience Publique. Here is the plan. And they submitted it. City of Montreal is fine. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be, terrific. And here's the budget. They had to put aside, every year they had to put aside monies in the budget because according to the 2017 agreement, they not only got it for $1, but the City of Montreal was an undertaking, a contract that we must put money into the capital budget. So they did. Every year they put 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, and it adds up. And we had approximately close to $100 million. And what did they do in 2023? We're writing and waiting for the environmental studies. They pulled the plug again. So wait, I'm almost there. So this is the underpass. This is what the Cavendish underpass is supposed to look like. We were all good with that. This was the exchange at Royal Mount. We're all good with that. This is another timeline. So this is the timeline going from 2022 to 2025. We would already, had they followed through in 2022, we would already be at the stage of the BAP giving its approval and going towards its execution. Then they come up with excuses. No, 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 we don't want Cavendish anymore. Now we want Jean Talon. Now we're going to focus on the Jean Talon tramway, a tramway from P9 all the way to the Hippodrome. Okay, and not only that, but we're going to put in $11 million. The Aglo put in $11 million into the ACOM. This is a private, engineering firm to study the prolongement de Jean Talon West, because this has now become the priority. In order to service the Hippodrome, we have to go through Jean Talon. We cannot go through Cavendish. And so you have they create a committee called the Gallup Committee, based on the group, to sort of a play on words on the Hippodrome, with all these wise men that are sitting around the table. And they told us at a meeting in Saint Laurent, we don't need Cavendish. And we said, why do you say that? Remember, Mitch, you were there? We said, why do you say that? No, Hippodrome doesn't need Cavendish. I said, but it's attached. You're supposed to. You have Hippodrome for $1 and no, we don't want to do Cavendish. So now we're all focused on Jean Talon. And now this is what we did. This is what the Alliance did. On the fire, wait, I'm not done. This is what we did. We created the Cavendish Alliance, and Rick, thank you very much, because Rick has been really essential to this, operation. He's been very helpful. And we created Cavendish Alliance of CAE and Royal Mount and Carbon Leo and, and Westbury and all the big companies that are in the area. And they wrote letters and they made declarations and everything else. And we made presentations. Nobody listens. Then we created an alliance of elected officials, okay? Not elected officials. You're talking the MP from Anthony Housefather, Lambropoulos, Anna Gainey, all the MLAs. We all wrote to the minister, don't give any money for the Hippodrome. No funding for Namur Hippodrome project unless the Cavendish extension is guaranteed binding component within the first phase of development. Minister Fraser, Minister Smith, and now the new Minister of Housing. Do they listen? No. Montreal refuses to move on Cavendish, refuses to do the environmental studies, refuses to respect the 2017 agreement. And here is what we are left with today. They come to us and they say, oh, in order to do the Hippodrome, we need 3 exits. We can't just have 2. We can't just have Jean Talon, which is the red arrow to the right. Everyone following this? We can't just have Devonshire, which is the red arrow to the north. We need either Mathel or Clanranald. Like, really? Like, where are you coming from?
Tell them when this is very recent news.
Okay, so this happens in April. Started in April. We're already August, and they're telling us that they need either Mackle or Clanranald because the fire department requires 3 exits in and out of the Hippodrome. So, okay, what's wrong with Cavendish? That's like, it's right there, right? We have it. We designed it. No, that's not good enough. And that's why it's only political. There's nothing technical about this. So they come back to us and they say, we're going to study. I say, you're going to spend $11 million, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. What are you going to study? In order to go over 8 tracks, a parking lot for Toyota, which is huge, and wetlands, in order to go from the Hippodrome to Mackle. They're going to study if they can make a bridge. A bridge. Like CP is going to let them build a bridge. And then CP is going to tell them, because CP tells us all the time, Bibi was here and she could tell you as well. We want to do a little tiny bit of work on CP land. And CP is going, yeah, but we got to keep it for our operations. So if they have containers there 4 or 5 stories high, how high does that bridge have to go? Anyway, so I continue. So now they're coming to us and they're saying, oh, you know what? We're going to explore other options. More options. So now we have more options. Option number one at the bottom of your screen is Kildare. All right? Kildare died in 1989. I don't remember exactly. Pardon? Yeah. Kildare was supposed to be built, and City of Montreal reneged with Vainstad and Doré and the other one, I forget her name. And what happened was they gave us north of Hampstead. That was the reason we got north of Hampstead. That's how north of Hampstead became part of Côte Saint-Luc. Anyway, so now they're exploring Kildare. Yeah, like that's going to happen right through Alex Look Park. Yeah, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, as my mother would say. Then Mackle, and I haven't measured the distance exactly, but I mean, you can eyeball it. You see the orange dotted line in the middle? So you're going from over the 8 tracks, over the parking lot, over the wetlands that have to be protected to Mackle. Good luck. And I said this in a meeting maybe 3-4 months ago, it's a total non-starter. And now they're talking, oh, sorry, gotta go back. Oh, lost it again. Sorry, guys. Okay. I'm almost there. Okay. So now they're talking, you see the orange dotted line inside the yards? You understand the difference between inside the yards and outside the yards? Inside the yards, that's it. Thank you, Daryl. I didn't realize you're doing that. So now that's the private road that they use. And they always used to tell us, oh, CP will never let you use their private road. But now this is an option. Like, what, who are they playing games? And the thick red line is what I drew. I drew it so that I don't share their proposal. It's really my, so they don't say I shared their proposal. This is what I drew. So what is the difference between an overpass on the top of the screen, on the very top of the screen, right there, which is what we want, an underpass and an underpass on the right-hand side, where the big red circle is on right there. I mean, clearly an underpass. And the red thick line, that's exactly what Robert showed you from 2000, that nothing has changed. That is the solution. There's no other solution. Now, when it comes to Clanranald, there's a lot of issues there because that would not service the heart of the city of Côte Saint-Luc. I don't think anyone believes that if you go back to this red arrow here, that's going to help anybody in Côte Saint-Luc. On the contrary, they even had the chutzpah to say at a meeting, so it's no problem, we'll just make it one way out. So it's one way out of Hippodrome so that we don't get any benefit at all. So I really don't see the advantage of Clanranald, except as originally planned, which was a pedestrian or a active transit walkway. And I would even go as far as to say that we should have a moving sidewalk like you have at the airports. Why is it good for the airports and not good for an underpass? You could just get it's maybe 500 meters, not even 200 meters, like at the airports, you have the moving sidewalks. You could very easily have that, but the Clanranald, Rick can talk to that as well because he's discussed it with the fire department, but I won't get into that. But I just don't think that that's a viable solution for the mobility issues that we have. So I continue. This is Peter Malouf's.
Recording in progress.
This is Peter Malouf's in one of his major suggestions. It was always included in any presentation we give anywhere, that we have a dedicated access route through the CPCN yards for commercial and heavy trucks. So we get all the trucks off the main routes from Royal Mount to Parry. The road is there. It's a 5 to 10 minute drive. And if CPCN would let us use it, not only commercial trucks and heavy equipment, that would really alleviate a lot of the traffic on the road. So that's being pressed every single time we make a presentation. We're back to the only option supported by the 3 mayors, which is the the Cavendish proposal of 2022. And I just want to mention what Rick said a few minutes ago. We wrote and wrote and wrote, but nobody's listening. In August, that's last week, Carney announced 557 million for housing in Montreal, of which 83 million next year for Namur Hippodrome and Bridge Bonaventure. And we say that there should not be any funding for the Hippodrome without Cavendish. And that is basically it.
I'm going to steal the mic for a second because, thank you, Dita. I'm going to steal the mic for a second because I'm a radio guy, former news guy, and I believe the headline of the night in 30 to 40 seconds is no extension of Cavendish. This is as per the City of Montreal, which they have not yet announced. So no Cavendish, correct me if I'm wrong, connect Royalmount, extend Royalmount to Côte d'Ivoire, extend Mackle through the train yard over 8 sets of tracks and hook it up to an underpass at Clanranald, correct?
Who knows? I don't know I don't know if they're planning to do all of that.
Turn to your right because Jacques can tell that to his mayoral candidate.
That's a proposal.
Yeah, Rick, I think it's one or the other or the other. They're not planning to do.
They're not
anything
planning to
but
do
one.
Cavendish.
They're planning to maybe just do Clanranald because that would serve nobody. Or one of those other things. Yeah, okay.
I think one of the things we wanted to do tonight, because people do ask us questions about everything, including Cavendish, and naturally they ask us as a council, what are you doing about it? And I think tonight it's loud and clear who's blocking the way. And I do question why Mark Carney was giving Valerie Plante money. I think he needs a little bit of an update on that issue. So I think now we'd like to hear from you. So if you have a question, step to the microphone, give us your name, and go ahead.
So my name's Adam Lackman.
Sorry,
My name is Adam Lackman.
Adam Lackman. Okay.
Okay, so I rent. I'm not married to Côte Saint-Luc. I do like it here. I heard Mr. Cohen on Aaron Rand today. I heard this was going on. I avoid the meetings generally, but I figured let me come along and see what's up because there is something that really concerns me. So firstly, I'm slightly concerned that I didn't hear any negatives from the whole panel. Like I think that, the councilors are elected to represent the population, and obviously there's some negatives involved. One of them being, the train yards that could be repurposed. I'm glad Olenbeck and Richard Stern are going to benefit from this project, as was vocally said. I mean, you clearly said that their zone is right next to where it's going to pass. A busy street passing by raises the cost, the value of property very much. No one's going to dispute that. I wonder who that property will be sold to, who owns it. If it's going to go to low-income housing, affordable housing, I'm all about it. But if it's going to go to, Westbury project, it's not affordable housing. It's not even housing.
Do you have a question? Because it's
okay. So I do have a question. My first question is, you say development at Hippodrome. Does anyone here know what's currently being developed and promised by the city? And currently 150 units have been developed there, as I found out tonight, with plans for thousands more. Of what?
Apartments, condos, apartments.
No, housing for the homeless, modular housing.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. Let's. Yeah. That's your
There's
question?
currently 150 with thousands.
Okay. We have a long lineup of questions.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna get an answer for you. Do you have a?
No. So I have another question. The Atwater Market area, they put services for the unfortunate. I feel very bad for the homeless. You cannot sell a condo in that area. You cannot walk in that area without interacting with a fentanyl addict. I'd like to know are the fentanyl addicts on the map coming into Côte Saint-Luc from an area that's been designated, promised with federal funding, and already exists homeless housing there. What's going to be done to prevent these addicts from coming into Côte Saint-Luc? And I will also say that the Atwater Market, they don't venture into the poor areas associated with the Atwater Market. They venture into the areas where there's wealthy people, where there's businesses, because that's where they can get things. It's not a joke.
Okay, let's, Dita, would you like to respond to that?
So right now, the city of Montreal has set aside some 30 units, trailers, modular trailers that they purchased secondhand, and they're setting them up in the Hippodrome. I voted against it at the Aglo. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but they're doing it. And they're doing it also.
Accommodated land?
They're doing
No?
that. The latest is that they're setting them up in the Hippodrome. This is their, attempt to house the homeless. Yes.
Well, so as far as I'm aware, there's already 150 there.
No.
The webpage for the city of Montreal was updated 8 days ago. 8 days ago.
Everyone can speak, but you, afterwards, we're here to talk to you as well.
So yeah, I just think the people should know about the fact that there could very well be these people venturing into the community. If you drive down to Cary, you see way more drug addicts than were ever there before. It's a pathway into Côte Saint-Luc.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Go ahead, Alan Levine. Go ahead.
You know, when it comes to a project, it's always follow the money. If they're going to extend, I agree, but you say there has to be 3 routes, like the fire department wants, because you cannot have a development enclave, right? You have to have a proper, safe extension. This costs money. If we don't have a business plan of how much money is going into the Hippodrome and how much is coming out, then you're never going to have a Cavendish extension. They are not going to invest the money unless they're going to make money. None of us have seen anything. I hear a rumor from this gentleman about dumping. If they're dumping people there, then they don't have a plan. And if they have
Alan,
no plan,
Alan, that's,
then you're going to have no extension.
Alan,
The only
that's-
time you're
that's
having
the
an
point.
extension, I'm asking Dita this. I'm asking, 1 second, please. I'm asking Dita, is it true they have to have, number 1, routes, because it cannot be enclave, right? Okay. And their routes depend totally on money. What kind of routes, where you're not going to have a bridge if you don't have big apartment buildings bringing in a lot of money to pay for this bridge. Have you seen any development? None. So you're talking Narishkeit. You understand? There will be no extension as long as you don't have money coming in or money going out. Everything has to have a business plan. You don't build routes to nowhere. There are no more highways to nowhere.
Yeah, Alan,
And that's a problem.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
I'm going to let Dita respond to that, but I just want to make the point. That is the entire point she was making tonight, and that Rick was making, and that Robert and the mayor were making, is that it's the opposite of a plan. We have a party in power that is doing everything it can not to extend Cavendish. If they get reelected, we're in trouble. And if they don't get reelected, we have promise as Ensemble Montreal's got a different. And I also spoke to, by the way, Stephanie Valenzuela yesterday, the running for borough mayor, and her team is also very much in favor of it. I know I met Mayor Grazia 2 weeks ago, and I asked her if I could do a little interview for my Instagram, and she said, as long as you don't ask me about Cavendish. So I made the deal. I did ask her about Cavendish. Dita, do you have a response to Alan? No? Okay. Fine. Alan made his point. Okay, go ahead.
First, I want to thank you very much for getting this together. Welcome, everybody. I am Sharon Friedman. Côte Saint-Luc, border Montreal, and lots of congestion and traffic. Okay, first, I want to clarify something. I really know my politics. I know it's Montreal. I know that. Okay? And I know the games they've been playing. Number 2, I know Projet Montréal, who promised Cavendish a year ago, has been dishonest about many things I could name here. So she's never going to, as long as Projet Montréal gets reelected, we will never forget Cavendish. We won't get a road. We won't get a signal change. We won't get any.
Sharon,
Can I finish?
you got a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just finish? Okay, we won't have Cavendish if Gracias and Projet Montréal are elected. That's number 1. Number 2, Ensemble Montréal I have constantly written to Soraya and to Stephanie. Well, what is your position on Cavendish? What is your position on roads and cars? They have not answered. I've heard nothing publicly. There's less than, what, a month or two to this election? They have done nothing. Okay, getting back to that. The worst was Mark Carney, which shows his political inexperience. Why? How dare he come to Montreal? And of course, there's been finger pointing between Montreal and Legault and right back and forth. It's him. He doesn't give me money. Quebec doesn't give me, Canada doesn't give me money. So why doesn't he meet both of them together? So he meets with Plante, who's leaving, and promises all kinds of money with no accountability. This is disgusting. It's inexperience. It shows his political inexperience.
Okay, Sharon,
okay,
question, please.
okay,
We
my
know how you
question.
feel. Go ahead. Question, please.
Okay, so, what can Côte Saint-Luc do? First of all, you need to get together your allies. I love Peter Malouf, Alan D'Souza, Sam Scalia, Royal Mount. Hold on, get together, but you're going to need a lawyer because you're going to have to sue. That's number one. Number two, we all have to get back to Carney. We need to get back to Carney to tell him, I wrote a piece on Facebook, no money here unless they build Cavendish and
Sharon,
some roads.
all of that was, you're agreeing with everything we've said on the panel. All of this has been said tonight. We appreciate your feedback. We know how spirited you are in this issue, but all of the comments you're asking for, we're on board. We've done it. We've done it. We made the point. Everybody made the point that Carney should not have given the money and under conditions. So we get where you're coming from. We know you're a stalwart on this particular issue.
Well, I'm stuck in traffic on Sunday at 2 o'clock.
We understand.
And also, this is not, we are a car tradition.
Yeah.
This is Montreal because of our
You're
weather.
reaching to the converted. Sharon, let's let someone else speak.
Well,
thank you. Thank you. You asked your questions. You got your answers. Okay, go ahead.
Michael Shafter, I'll try to talk quicker and louder. Jacques and Rick, Soraya is the only savior in town, and she's pliable. I've spoken to her. She has to prove herself and get that hippo off the ground and running. And it takes the Cavendish extension pliable to the way that this Côte Saint-Luc Council wants. Where will the money come from? Obviously, Macaroni Carney. Where else is it? It may be said that that Ottawa, Quebec, and Montreal all want the Cavendish extension. Let's put up the money to get it. Let's talk it up. Jacques, when you're here, let him sit down and have a powwow with these guys and get it done. More important, I hope that at minimum, half CP rail yard closest to developed Côte Saint-Luc can be developed for affordable townhouses, low rise with white picket fences, and CP can develop or sell subdivisions to other developers, just like the Hippodrome would do if it got started. And may property tax and permit revenue flow into Côte Saint-Luc coffers big time thereafter to reduce the high welcome taxes and annual property tax increases, which are sidelining home ownership for our children in Côte Saint-Luc. Possibly, CP could serve a notice. Possibly Côte Saint-Luc could serve a notice to CP to clean up the environment polluted yard after 100 years of dumping caustic chemicals, paints, liquids, and other solvents into the ground, and voila, it disappears. If not, Ottawa should help by expropriating the needed land adjacent Mackle, but permit CP to develop it.
Michael, do you have a question?
And
Because it's a question
profit
period,
big
Michael.
time
Not
while
not
retaining
presenting
the
a
good
policy paper.
corporate image. Do I have a question? No. You got my statement. Comment on it. Appreciate the answer.
Okay. Thank you. Morris Titleman.
I think we should have Rick get a series of helicopters and we go in and out when we need to. Anyway, I have one question because, I've lived in Hampstead, Westmount, back here in Côte Saint-Luc. I witnessed the blockage or the construction on Fleet and emergency vehicles trying to get through. Do we need, God forbid, a lac megon tick from these damn tracks that wake up the city? Because we all saw what happened in lac megon tick. I spoke to our SMS person in the back here. I saw ambulances and these guys try to get through Fleet in the last couple of weeks. It's been horror. God forbid. What does it take? I don't give a damn about Plante or any political party in the city of Montreal for one reason. Half the tax money in Côte Saint-Luc goes to the city of Montreal. What do they do for us? Not a damn thing. Okay? Well, at least half. Okay? So I don't know. Is it a PR campaign? Because the media is biased whichever way they want to go. As far as I'm concerned, it's got really not much to do with the federal government other than transport. But what can we do? I mean, Rick and I joke about it for many years. Every morning I fight traffic up Cavendish. Tonight I fought it everywhere. Saint Jacques is blocked. Cavendish is jammed. Fleet is going to be open. Great. But again, when I lived in Hampstead, I went to city council and I said, let's block left turns off of Fleet during rush hour in the morning. City of Montreal says you'll never get it. They're still doing it. Do we have to close Côte Saint-Luc Road and keep everybody out of Côte Saint-Luc from NDG Côte des Neiges until this thing bubbles over? I don't know. But
you raise a very valid point because strictly, if there's no other reason from a security standpoint, there is no way out of Cavendish to the north right now. If there was to be a problem, whether it's within the city limits,
God forbid,
or within the Cour de Triage, which by the way was way back when I was involved with MUC emergency measures, we identified this yard as one of the 6 possible major disasters. Thankfully, we've been spared, but there's no way out north right now.
So, but what can we do? What can we wake up their eyes? I hear there was a survey that came out. Montreal needs more bike paths. God forbid. Okay. But, here in Coastal, we have bike paths. We don't have near the problems we're having in the city. But what can we do to wake up everybody in the area? Because God forbid something happens in those tracks. It's not just Côte Saint-Luc that's going to get nailed. It's everybody for many, many kilometers around us. And it's nerve-wracking. I live on Marc Chagall, the last building before the tracks, as you know, Mike. Okay. And I look out my window and I hear the trains going and I see oil tankers going. It's serious. We have a serious situation. So
you raise very valid points. The mayor, do you like to respond to that, Mayor Brownstein?
Well, for years, we keep on speaking with the CP Rail about moving the yards, as I spoke before, and we can keep on pushing it. They just aren't doing it. I don't know what power we have over them because it's not our jurisdiction, federal jurisdiction. I don't, maybe a PR campaign, maybe going back to something like you're suggesting about, bringing back what happened already in the past, another Lac Mégantic, and playing that card. Would it work? I don't know. They do have land. They do have land where they can move the entire shunting yards over to that other land. They
do we have to take a joint class action suit as citizens worried about our security? Because God forbid there's a big fire here. How are they going to bring the trucks over? Are they going to drop them from a helicopter? Are they going to bring ambulances, drop them from another helicopter? It's ridiculous.
And taking note of your points, class action by the residents and a PR campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, there are.
I hire Rick Leckman to do the PR campaign.
But the agglomeration council, the city of Montreal probably has its fire safety protocols, emergency medical protocols, I imagine. Perhaps an exhaustive review or an audit to those protocols, we could probably unearth several non-conformities related to the rail yards. Maybe that's worth the British project.
I've spoken to Rick Lehman at length about this, and it's an issue because the only way north is Devonshire. You got to get to Devonshire to get out. So,
to get to Côte des Neiges from here in the morning is an hour. Ridiculous. So how long does it take an ambulance to come back and forth? I mean, it's,
There's no question that response times for all emergency vehicles are constant.
thank God we have EMS here.
Point made.
One thing that I jump in, carrying on what you're talking about, there were 3 exits that were required from the new Hippodrome, right? That's when they were talking about those 3 little arrows. But before we start developing as a city more massive projects like that, what about looking at this area and what 3 exits do we have going in? So maybe that's an angle. I don't know if they considered it or not, but maybe just pointing it out that before they start spending $500 million, $1 billion of new money to create these new 3 different exits, or well, adding 1 extra. What about
There actually are 3 right now. There are 3 right now. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Westminster and
Westminster,
Cavendish.
Cavendish, and behind Mount Sinai Hospital, you can open the gates. But again, that's
Yeah.
That's not our direction. I don't count.
Who's got the key?
but it's not sufficient. And again, there's nothing to the north.
Because I'm
Okay.
just wondering if a security expert firm did a intense audit of the security measures and protocols and verified whether it's in violation of those protocols, the current status quo. Maybe it's worth having a small study done.
It's worth checking.
Yeah. That's the committee, and there are 4 exits, okay? Like he said, Rick, there is one right over behind Mount Sinai. The first priority in any case, we have a travel truck always ready to put it over the track, so we have that exit. And we have the other one on Wallenberg. On Wallenberg, if we have mission, we have.
Okay.
also an exit there.
Alan, you know, we have an order of speaking, so I'd like to stick to people. If you're going to ask a question, please be in line and ask your question. Thank you, Morris.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Next question.
We only have 2 active. Those would be in an emergency, but if the emergency happens on the rail yards and there's an explosion there, those 2 emergency exits are not going to be of any use. So we only have 2 active exits out right now, which is a very good point. If they need 3 by the fire department for the Hippodrome.
Hi, I'm Harold Forrester. I'm a retired engineer. And we all know the advantages we're going to have if the Cavendish opens up for us. But has any consideration been given and publicly announced, but how much reduction of traffic and pollution that exists on the DeCarry Expressway and all the feeder roads leading to that? Because now much of that will disappear. It'll go into the new Cavendish extension to get out, whether it's to go to the Trans-Canada Highway or things like that. There'll be an enormous improvement for the middle of the city of Montreal and the west end through DeCarry. We have to develop all the advantages by proposing this Cavendish extension. I haven't heard anything. All we hear is reasons why we can't go through it. So my suggestion is try and look at the other advantages.
You are absolutely right. And there have been studies done, not just by Côte Saint-Luc, but by Hempstead as well. There are thousands and thousands of vehicles that are being forced to go north and east to try to go north, east and north via DeCarry rather than the Cavendish.
Exactly.
All of these studies have been tabled and like everything else, fall on deaf ears.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think, next question will be in a second, but I think some people ask me, why are we having this meeting now? We're having this meeting now because it is before a municipal election and we do have the media here and we do have this live stream and it is going to be on YouTube and there's going to be blogging and Instagramming and all kinds of comments. And we need to get the message out to everybody that, we're not picking sides here. If the Projet Montréal wakes up, smells the coffee and does the right thing, then all power to them. But someone's got to get in the Montreal administration and work on this. And we're hearing some very good comments tonight. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Lion Rich. I moved here in 2016. I moved here from Saint Laurent, and I loved Saint Laurent, frankly, and I love Côte Saint-Luc. But one of the reasons I moved here is I thought it was going to be accessible to get home soon, back to my old home, because that's where I had friends and relationships, and it looked like Cavendish was on the verge of being done. I should have known better. I'll have a comment in the end. I just want to give you one other piece of history that's interesting. Before I met my wife, the year before I met my wife in 1964, my father-in-law sold his home on the northwest corner Fleet and Borden. Why did he sell his home? Because it was certain that Cavendish was being put through. 1964, real world consequences of things that didn't happen. The stresses that we go through every day to try to get back to our homes in Côte Saint-Luc, to leave our homes in Côte Saint-Luc, how much time we have. This is stresses that are on all our population every day. It is not fair that this end of the city of Montreal does not have north-south access. It's just not fair. It's wrong. And just to bring up one other point that maybe we can think ahead, before that golf course gets developed, if it ever gets developed, we should keep in mind that we need another north-south exit at the end of that golf course. So before they build homes all the way to the end, there should be studies about another Cavendish going north and south across to the northern ends of the city, like past to TransCanada and stuff. So let's not ignore that into the future. The bottom line is that we've all been very polite. You guys have been extremely polite. You've worked so hard. It's time to stop being polite. You're dealing with ignorant, stupid people. It's time to treat them like ignorant dummies. And that's the view I would bring. It's time to take the gloves off, guys. And I respect you all. You're terrific. You're bright. But my friends, the time to call a mayor of Montreal a mayor, I don't know what I would call her, but it's been a long story. The commitments that have been foregone is just not fair to anybody, and it's wrong. And take the gloves off, guys.
Well, welcome to Côte Saint-Luc, and thanks for your comments. Where are you living? What street are you on, by the way? Cavendish End? Okay, perfect. Okay.
And you really want all
Go
the
ahead.
traffic.
Next question.
Bonsoir, good evening. My name is Leonard Miller. I live on McDonald. I had the privilege of meeting Dita a few years ago, and Dita asked me to go to the agglomeration committee and talk about Cavendish, which I did in French. I expect to do it again within a couple of weeks, because at this point I'm 84 years old. I started when I was 82. I had an uncle that lived on a street called King George, which is the beginning of Cavendish in the 1950s, maybe 60s. It goes back to then. He hated the idea of opening Cavendish. I think it'd be a great idea. I walked in tonight and there was a television camera here. I don't know if he's still here, CTV, but I think that the only which way that anything is going to get done is what's called marketing, which is Rick's area. I think I assume that I was the only one that ever went to the agglomeration committee. There are 12 meetings a year. I would love to see another 11 people with maybe another 2 or 3 people with them going to every single one of the agglomeration committees. I live on McDonald. I can't get to DeCarry, just my little 3 blocks. It's 15, 20 minutes. I expect to start going to the Montreal City Council meetings every single meeting to talk to them about 10, 15 different ideas. Stop the parking, have the crachet, or whatever it's called, the X's between DeCarry, Isabella, and all the streets, so we can get at least some cars through. You just can't move. God forbid, as someone mentioned, ambulances or fire. I think a marketing committee, a marketing challenge is the only way. And it's all nice for you guys to do it. Everybody here, get off your damn butts and do something about it. You're sitting here and crying to the wrong people. These aren't the people that are trouble. It's the other guys. Let's mount a group of people to get off our butts. I don't mind. I'll lead it if it has to be. I'm fluently bilingual. I will do it. Come with me to the meetings.
Okay, so Lenny,
Yes, dear.
thank you very much for coming. So tonight, Alan D'Souza was invited, but he couldn't come because he's at a Montreal City Council meeting and it continues tomorrow. So if you want, you can go tomorrow or you can come on Thursday at 4:00.
Yes,
because the
I have it marked down for
agglomeration
4.
Meeting is Thursday at 4:00. You have to be there an hour before
Yes.
in order to register, and you register at 3:00, and you'll be the first one to ask a question at 4:00.
Yes, I know. I've been there
And
twice.
second to last meeting before the election, and the last meeting is going to be September 25th. And so now, Leonard, I hope to see you on Thursday.
Yes, I will be there, but I would love somebody else to come with me.
Well-
Call and let's do something.
All right, well, we're not,
You
you know,
Morris' son?
Leonard, if someone's interested, they'll come up to you.
Please.
And by the way, there may be someone online watching who wants to come up to you. Okay, we will stick around. I want to know if anybody, Rick or Robert or Mitchell or anyone or Jacques has anything further to say. I'd like to know if any members of City Council who are here tonight would like to say anything. Anybody on council want to say anything? Okay, if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do is before we
Sorry,
can
one last
go ahead.
comment. Everything that's been said here, I don't think anybody needs to be convinced that we have an issue. Problem with these meetings and others that preceded it is that we get all riled up. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then nothing happens. So we need to really keep the pressure on because again, timing is on our side at this point because of the election. But again, it's not the people in this room that are going to make the difference unless you get out and get people from the city of Montreal. Because, comme on dit en bon français, les problèmes sont à Hampstead, Côte Saint-Luc, mais la solution est à Montréal. And il veut rien savoir.
Well, I just
Keep
want
the pressure on.
I just want to mention, and the mayor can conclude, we do have Jacques here. Saint Laurent is a huge borough. It's always been elected Ensemble Montréal. We're going to count on Jacques tonight to deliver all the comments that were made tonight to Alan D'Souza and to Soraya, who I've met and is a very open individual, to all the candidates. And we will share the same comments with the members of Projet Montréal, Dita Burke, who sees them, and the Mayor Brownstein at the agglomeration. We will do, I think it's time that, you know, we do advocacy on our own, that while we're going to be in our own election campaign, we've also got to do advocacy and speak to the leaders of the different municipal parties and make the point, all of us. I think, you know, having the Saint Laurent Borough echo those sentiments, because for your party leader, this is a winner. This is a winner for her to campaign on, for her to be standing at the corner of Cavendish and in Saint Laurent, or Cavendish and DeCarry, stand there during rush hour, you know, stand Chantal and DeCarry, stand there in Vizina where there's no reason why cars should be parked there. You're at the NDG borough team needs to know that there's no reason why cars should be parked on Vizina during rush hour. So Mayor Brownstein, final word, and then we'll conclude. Go ahead.
You know, not project. Ensemble.
Ensemble Montréal.
Blaming the government, city, and the real problem is big businessmen. They're investing the money. If they were investing the money and building that area, then we wouldn't have any problems. They're not investing there, and it's political. There's no question. The province right now is not a good place to invest for many people.
Okay, Alan, we're a little bit off topic.
You can offer big business.
Alan, you can speak to him after the meeting. Let the mayor conclude the meeting, please.
I just want to thank you all for being here. First of all, we're blessed. Thank you, Mike Cohen, for having the idea of this district meeting, and for Councillor Burke for working on it. For getting this panel together. And what I always do as mayor is I take notes. So I did take notes here, and I'm going to be reaching out to you. I'm going to expect, and I think Lenny Miller is going to be willing to do that. We want to have a committee to get people to come en masse to the Aglo. I think Morris Titleman had very good ideas. And if we're going to have a PR campaign, I'd be happy to have you involved with it. So we are the people, and Côte Saint-Luc is a great community. And I think if we work from the people here and get more to direct our anger to the right place, which is not here, it's Montreal, clearly. Hopefully we'll do that. And one of the things we all have to do is make sure that the right party gets elected in Montreal. So tell all your friends who are voters in Montreal to vote for Ensemble Montréal and to get Alan D'Souza and get that party elected. And hopefully we'll have a stronger voice. And we'll work together. It's really close, eh? And we're, like you said, it's about 2 months and a couple of weeks or a week or so until the election, not a lot of time. And after November, we'll have to keep on working. So thank you all for coming, and we'll continue. I took good notes. I'm going to follow up with the guys who I think can help, and I think you all can help. So let's work together.
Thank you. Before anyone comes to the stage to talk to us, I'd like to ask members of council to come up. Daryl, if you could just take a group picture of those of us on the podium with members of council, if you could please to come to the stage, and then you can speak to us off the record, or not off the record, but so if the councilors can come up, please, to the front of the stage, and all of us just come to the front over here, the other side. Daryl.